What's up everybody, Kinetic here and welcome back to The Division. So, what I'm going to do in this video for you guys is talk about a number of big updates that have come out of the past two State of the Game addresses for The Division, where they have talked about their plans for patch 1.2, and there is a lot of really good stuff coming out for bug fixes, quality of life improvements, and of course, new content. But before we get into all of that, I want to go ahead and give you guys a heads up and plug in this video an official announcement, I suppose, that my new website, gameplayplus.com, is officially live right now. People can go over there, they can register, they can read gaming news blog posts about various games, check out some esports news, they can even watch my YouTube videos from this website. There's some pretty cool things up there already, and this is just the beginning. I've got more features and more entertainment in general that is going to be posted on this website. So be sure to go check it out, guys. Register, leave some comments on the blogs. I would love to see more people over there geeking out with me on the site, talking about games in the comment section, and giving me some feedback as far as what they think. Alright, so let's get into talking about patch 1.2. The big thing that we first heard about is how they're essentially creating a sort of loot 2.0 type of scenario like we've seen with other loot hunting games. Like, for example, Diablo 3 underwent a big change and had its loot 2.0 with Reaper of Souls. Even Destiny also had some major changes to the way loot works over there, and they're sort of 2.0. Well, it's definitely in the works now for The Division. If anything, it's already started with the previous patch 1.1. We've already had an increased number of drops, guaranteed high ends from bosses and things like that. And as they kind of mentioned in these State of the Game addresses, that was sort of one half of their overall plan to improve loot overall here in The Division. And so these changes coming up in patch 1.2 are really going to help to flesh out and really bring up to a good standard for which we can run around, kill things, and get rewarded for it. Overall, the general attitude seems to be about being much more generous about giving out loot and also improving the quality of that loot. For example, in the current top bracket, we are right now seeing some really pitiful drops. Like, a lot of the stuff that drops there is only like gear score 163, I think. You might get like 182. I believe those numbers are the gear score numbers for those pieces. But really, you can't expect much more than that. There's way too many performance and gear mods and stuff like that. Well, that's what they're going to improve coming up in patch 1.2, is they're going to up the rate of higher gear score pieces that are going to be dropped. So you can, for example, in the current top bracket, you can expect to see more, for example, 183, maybe even some 204 pieces that will be dropping in the coming patch. But even better than that is they're going to help kind of spread out all of these really powerful and high gear scored players that are currently running around in the Dark Zone. There's going to be an added bracket that is going to be gear score 201 and above, and players that go there can expect to fight harder enemies, receive a hell of a lot more high-end division tech, and also have a chance, a very good chance it seems actually, to get items up to gear score 240. That's right, 240, the highest gear score tier available, is going to be dropping at a very good rate, it seems, in this new gear score bracket. But again, this is going to be an added difficulty as well to help balance out the risk versus reward. The enemies here are going to be from ranges 32 to 34, it seems. So if you felt like you were already kind of on your toes with, for example, those cleaners up in Dark Zone 6 in the current bracket, then expect those guys to be ready to roast you even faster. On top of the increased quality that we can expect for each of these different brackets, we're also going to see a lot more weapons dropping, it seems. Again, there's going to be less performance mods, less gear mods dropping, and a lot more guns dropping. Now, I'm really hoping, because this was my big problem with patch 1.1, I'm really hoping that we can, especially in the gear score 201 and above bracket, see a lot, or hopefully frequently, some of the guns that we've seen only available as blueprints in the Dark Zone. For example, the new high-end Vector, the new marksman rifles and stuff that have been on sale in the Dark Zone 3, right? Where you can buy the blueprints for the M1A, the Vector, and things like that. I'm really hoping that we see the same tier and quality of those guns dropped fairly often in this new Dark Zone bracket, because I really want the game to be about farming and killing enemies to get this kind of loot, not about farming for experience and farming for credits to be able to buy a stupid blueprint to make the gun. That is not how this should be. On top of that, we can also expect to see more gear set pieces dropping overall in the equivalent Dark Zone brackets. So those of you, for example, frustrated with the supply drops, you can expect to see more gear sets coming out of there, and probably from other sources, for example the bosses dropping gear set pieces as well. Hard mode missions, challenge missions, and also incursions are also going to receive a similar buff to the frequency and quality of the loot dropping from there. So all of that, plus reassuring players that a lot of, if not the majority of these bugs that we're seeing in the current patch are also going to be fixed in the coming update. Now, that was just one of the State of the Game addresses. The one that we just had very recently this week talked about some really interesting changes to our survivability as agents in the Division. We're going to see a new major attribute called toughness take the space of where we're currently seeing health points indicated in the character menu. This new toughness attribute is going to basically represent a combination of our stamina and also our armor. This includes armor mitigation. Why is it important to display toughness rather than health points? Because, well, I think that basically they want to make it just a little bit more visually easier to understand and a better representation of what your defense is, rather than simply the number of hit points that you have, because that's really only kind of half the story, which is why they are combining stamina and armor together, I think, into this new toughness attribute, because that better represents your overall defense and survivability. But it's not enough to just create a fancy new major attribute. We've actually got to see an increase in our defense and survivability, because right now people are melting faster than you can say Path of the Nomad in the Dark Zone right now. It's pretty scary, the amount of damage output that's being thrown around, which is why they're also going to raise the armor mitigation cap from 65% to 75%, and that might not seem much, only a 10% increase in the cap to armor mitigation, but I think that this is going to be a good step, certainly in the right direction, to kind of balance things out, because we had a huge buff to the overall damage that agents are putting out, especially with the gear set pieces and the new guns that are being made from the blueprints from the Dark Zone. There's just some face melting amount of bullet sprays that are coming out now. We really needed something to kind of help balance things out for DPS and defense, and I think that this increase to armor mitigation cap is definitely going to help. Now, there's rumors of new gear sets that are also going to come out in this patch. I've heard somebody talk about, what did they call it, a Titan or a Juggernaut set or something like that, that is going to come out and basically be a tank set for a gear set. But that's just rumors right now. There's no official announcement to any such gear set that is being made. I just really hope that there is, though, because that's really something that this game needs now more than ever. Now, there's another topic of discussion that has a lot of people talking regarding gear sets, and it's talking about what is being called a nerf to the Sentry's Call gear set. But before I get into that, because that's probably going to consume the rest of this video, I also want to talk about some of the other things that they mentioned really quickly about the upcoming patch 1.2. There's going to be an increase in the Phoenix credit cap from 1,000 to 2,000. There's also going to be a buff to performance mods. I mean, this is kind of meh news, because, I mean, even with a buff, I'm not entirely convinced that performance mods are really still worth it compared to other mods that we could put into our gear. And if you were like me and you were kind of paranoid that there might be another big hike in the gear score tier coming up in the next patch, it seems as though that actually they're not going to be raising the gear score cap from 240 to like 260 or something like that. 240 is still going to be king, and the numbers that we're seeing right now as far as the requirements to get into the next incursion is actually just a placeholder number. It's not actually what we can expect when the next patch does go live. It's actually going to be the same recommended and required gear scores that we are seeing right now in Falcon Lost for the next incursion coming up. Alright, so let's talk about the Sentry's call fix, also called nerf. Basically, it's a really simple thing that should have been in this set from the very beginning. The Sentry's call gear set, I mean, right from the very get-go, we heard, and it was being labeled as the marksman set, right? It was essentially believed before it even was available in the game to be a set that marksman gun wielders would put on to increase their effectiveness as snipers, for example, for headshot damage and just that sort of play style. Well, as you've probably noticed, not long into the current patch, it's been anything but the marksman set. It's a gear set that has been dominating pretty much everybody's build for the most part, especially in the Dark Zone, and very few people are actually using it as a marksman build gear set, and instead we're seeing a lot of people using this gear set while they're wielding SMGs, while they're wielding assault rifles, or both, and not even using a marksman gun at all. So Massive, in their wisdom, has decided to fix the gear set, I believe this is how they're describing it, and make it so that way it can only be used, or benefited from, I should say, while using a semi-automatic weapon such as a marksman rifle. So if you are wearing the Sentry's Call set and you are shooting with an SMG, the bonuses will not apply to you because you're not using the right gun for that gear set. Now, like I said, it's being called a fix, but a certain percentage of players are actually fixing that term and calling it a nerf, which honestly, I mean, it's kind of like, it's almost a senseless argument because really, I mean, I'm just gonna cut the BS and just say that for me personally, in my opinion, whatever you want to call it, it's a necessary evil to help balance out the problems with the gear sets as they are right now. Sure, we could, I suppose, change some of the current sets, for example, Path of the Nomad, which is considered probably the weakest out of the gear sets, change what bonuses they have to bring it up to Sentry's Call or something like that, but really, it's the Sentry's Call marksman set and should only be, as it was designed, used by marksmen or semi-automatic weapons in the first place. This is going to really help to, I think, spread people out and diversify the builds that players are using right now. Just like the Striker's gear set was clearly designed with, for example, assault rifles in mind, right? Fully automatic weapons that are going to be spraying lots of bullets really fast to help build up those stacks to increase your damage. The Sentry's Call set definitely was designed for the sniper style, for the marksman style, so having that restriction that the bonuses will only apply to them, like I said, it just makes sense. It's a necessary evil, and overall I think it's going to improve the balance of the game. Now, I won't deny that this is definitely how it should have been right from the very beginning, and it's just kind of shady the way that it's all unfolding the way it is. I'm not taking anything of that away at all. That is definitely on Massive. They screwed that up, and so they kind of deserve some flack for it, but I really don't think that people should be arguing and saying that the set shouldn't be changed. It's really going to hold back the game, I think, and the gear sets as a major feature in the game if we don't make these necessary changes and make it so that way the Sentry set is being used by the right type of playstyle, the striker set being used by the right type of playstyle. The existing gear sets and the gear sets that come out in the future need to be, if necessary, changed in order to fit the way that they're supposed to be used, so that way we have a better balance and build diversity here in the Division. And hopefully this will be another lesson learned by Massive, so that way they make sure that they test these damn things, so that way when they go live, they don't end up having to fix, aka nerf them, to bring them back into balance the way they should have been when they came out in the first place. And that's all I've got for you guys here in today's video. I hope that catches you guys up to speed and what's been talked about for the big major announcements, right? From the last two State of the Game addresses. I'm really looking forward to this patch, man. It's looking like it could be the biggest and most progressive patch that we've seen in the Division yet. With all of these changes, new content being added, things are really looking bright for the future of this game, and right on time, because honestly, I mean, I'll go ahead and say that I've had a lot of people that I know that are simply not playing this game that much, if at all, anymore, because it's really become a drag. I myself find it difficult even to log into this game in some days, and I feel lonely, man. I feel like I'm the only one, maybe in my little circle, that is still really pumped and excited for this game. But I have faith, and I think I have good reason to have faith and to be looking forward to these major updates, because just look at all the cool things that they are doing to add to the game and to fix the game. This is only the beginning, it feels like, and we haven't even gotten to the real big content, the real expansions that are coming to this game in the next couple of months. There's still no official date for patch 1.2, and I am pretty sure that we're going to see at least one, maybe even two more State of the Game addresses talking about changes, bug fixes, balancing, new content, and all that stuff. And you can expect to hear about that right here on my YouTube channel and over at GameplayPlus.com, the new gaming website that I just launched. Definitely go check it out, guys. I would really like to, like I said, to get some feedback. You can find a link to that down in the comment section and the description and on the front of my YouTube page. Until next time, guys, overall, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Click the like button to support these Division videos here on the channel, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next video. Thanks again for watching. My name is Kinetic, and I'll see you next time.
Team kill! I'm sorry. I didn't know I could do that. Well, Rainbow Six Siege, I guess, huh?